All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Kristen, and I am here today for the Soulful Animal Communication Training inside the Animal Communication Community here, which is a complimentary free community where I share about animal communication. I teach on communicating with animals. I offer gatherings and all kinds of things that we can do here to learn more about what the animals have to teach us through understanding them using telepathic animal communication. So, today I wanted to talk about a topic that is so near and dear to my heart. This topic is ethics of animal communication, and why they are so important in this field, whether you are just learning animal communication, whether you have been at this a while and you're practicing, or whether you are doing this professionally or you're thinking about doing this professionally. Concepts of ethical matters as they relate to animal communication and animal communicators and the animals and the people are super, super important. When I think of ethics, and I have a whole class that I teach about ethics and energetic boundaries for animal communicators and animal healing professionals. And in that class, we cover 20 different areas of ethical considerations as it relates to animal communication as a profession and the healing professions. And the way I like to look at ethical considerations is that they are internal and external, right? There are things that we need to look at and understand about ourselves in a situation, in any situation. What are our own ethics? How is this belief or is this value, right? Ethics or values. How is this value supporting me? And how is this value externally supporting those around me, both those I'm working with, those who are not a part of a consultation, and also the greater community, which also involves the profession at large, right? So, um, ethics are a system of rules, a system of pillars, and governed by values. And we need to look at those both individually and also professionally. And so I like to think about it as internally and externally. And and I want to just offer that to you as a way to adopt this, because sometimes people come to ethical considerations and ethical situations in animal communication completely by default, but because they didn't know, right? Like a situation pops up, you find yourself having to make a hard decision or having maybe done something or said something or gotten involved in a situation that you weren't intending to or you didn't know was going to turn out this way. And it creates questions, it creates problems, it creates boundary issues. And so understanding ethics um, as you get going, no matter where you are, right? As you get going, and then also if you've been at this a while, really understanding the ethics that govern the work that you're practicing. Um, the first ethical consideration I will share about, and I'm going to cover five today, five of the 20. The first one is the concept of permission and the importance of what that actually means to have permission from the animal that you are communicating with, tuning in with, and from the person who has care, custody, and control of that animal. All right. And um, that matters. That matters. And I see these mistakes happen all of the time because people don't know that it matters. And it's not that people are willingly or intentionally crossing boundaries and not following ethical codes, but it's because they simply don't know. They don't know the importance and the significance of having permission. So, how this comes up, and I'll just give you an example. It comes up, I see it in places typically where there is informal practicing going on, informal um, sharing of animal communication, practicing back and forth. I also have seen this happen where people are calling themselves animal communicators and they are not fully trained animal communicators. There's a reason that I teach this. There's a reason that there are many of us teaching this. There's a reason that, doing this work professionally matters. Um, so, where permission kind of can get muddy is when people know of an animal in a situation and they want to help that animal. But the animal is not in their family, that animal is not in their care. The animal lives with and is a member of someone else's family, is in someone else's care, custody, and control. But that person really wants to help. And so they sometimes will inadvertently tune in with the animal to see what would be helpful. But that's not okay. It's not okay because what happens then is if you are said person practicing animal communication and you tune in with an animal who you don't have permission to talk with, you don't have permission to explore topics with, then you may get some information that you don't know what to do with. It lands for you that you now know this and you don't have any ability, any right, any permission to take that information and share it with the animal's person. Sometimes people do. Sometimes people do. And what happens is in most of those situations, the person who does have care, custody, and control of the animal, because they never asked someone else's opinion, never asked someone else to chime in, did not okay that someone was tuning in with their animal telepathically, they get upset. They get upset. They feel really vulnerable. That could be out of fear or just having, feeling like they've done something wrong. And people get defensive. They get upset, they get defensive, they feel vulnerable. And most of the time, they shut down to the potential good that could come from having an animal communication session. And even worse, like the potential that could come from just opening up to what that their animals have something to tell them, right? Like opening up to this whole process and opportunity in general. So, um, permission, so, so important. People are protective of their animals. People are protective of their relationship with their animals. And we also need to know that people can only go as far as they are able to at any given time, right? So going into an animal's relationship with their human and exploring that and asking questions about it and asking them what they want without any permission, it's really treading on boundaries. It's treading on privacy, and it's simply not okay. Um, another So I'm so happy to have you ask questions about this. If this is making sense, let me know. Drop it in the comments. If this is not making sense, let me know. Drop it in the comments and ask your questions. I'm so happy to answer them. I want to help you. I want to help people be in this, I'll call it the work, right? Be in this work in a really healthy and well-boundaried, positive way that's going to help others, going to help animals, going to help people, and it's going to help you and keep everybody safe. That's what ethics in animal communication do for everyone, is it keeps us all safe. It keeps us all in a positive direction. So next area of permission, this is still under the first area of permission, which is where I see this happen is people will be, I'll use the example that I've used before. Um, there are Facebook groups called Animal Communication or whatever, Animal Communicators Unite, or I don't know. Anyway, and people are there because they're enthusiastic. They're there because they have had some experience opening up, remembering their telepathic animal communication abilities, and they're excited, right? And people are excited. And practicing with others is a great way to get feedback. It's a great way um, to grow. In every one of my programs, I have rooms with people in them to practice together, opportunities to learn together, right? Like we see ourselves growing when we see others grow. We get to tap into what they're growing in and how they're understanding when we are present with them. And we help others to grow too. So, this whole concept of being in a group is absolutely wonderful. However, there need to be guidelines because what I have seen and what I have heard happening is that people will bring situations to a group and such as this is Fluffy. This is my neighbor's dog. He lives on the other side of the fence. He barks all day, and I hear him sometimes barking at night inside the house, and I am worried about him. Can you find out if something is going wrong for Fluffy? There are so many things not okay about that situation, right? Here's another example. This is a picture of my dog, or no, I'm sorry, no. This is a picture of my aunt's dog. And she's had this health issue going on. And um, I know that she needs help. My aunt doesn't necessarily believe in animal communication, and but I want to know what to do for her because she needs help. Can you tune in and tell me what she needs? Right? That is not okay. These situations do not hold the permission given by the person who has care, custody, and control of that animal. And that is just a truth. And it's not okay to tune in during those times because what happens is, like I said before, information is might be picked up by you, the animal communicator. I have cat hair all in my nose now and in my eyes. Um, and then what do you do with it? And people didn't ask for help. They didn't ask for insight. So what do you do with it? And if you share it with the person and they get upset by it, who potentially is the one to be hurt? The animal doesn't get what they told you that they need, right? The person is defensive or upset, and they could very easily take that out on the animal, right? Or and their own defenses. Everyone has a different level of self-awareness, and people when they're defensive, you said you want to blah, 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 you'll see, you're not going to get that, right? Like, how many times have you experienced that just knowing humans in human relationships, right? When people feel defensive, they deny any wrongdoing, they deny it because they can't handle, right? So just know that permission is so important. And this is why having guided practice times to grow your skills and abilities is so important. I will say this. I have seen practice groups and practice circles where people claim that they are doing animal communication and they are not. They claim that what they are doing is animal communication and they are not. And that is simply known as projection. And people, um, we all have opinions, and our own opinions are not the animal's perspectives and viewpoints and opinions. And it's really, really important to put yourself in rooms where they are structured, where people have had education, where people are really committed to doing this well. Because I can't tell you just some of the things that I've heard about, I'll give you an example. Um, Someone shared with me that they saw in a group of 10,000 people that someone posted that they had an elderly horse who had been struggling and they were really considering clearly within the next week to euthanize this horse and wanted to know if the horse was okay with this. And they brought this to a group of 10,000 people, none of whom, I don't know if they know anybody. I'm not them, but there is no professional there. There is no monitoring there. There is no process of vetting there about people's abilities. And the answers that came flying in were so damaging. So, um, I am not down on groups. I use Facebook. I have my groups on Facebook. This group is on Facebook, but I am extremely ethically wound around this work, and I will always have it be structured and know that there is someone vetting the answers that are coming up. All right. So that's a little bit, this leads me into what am I trying to say? One of the other ethical considerations, which is, I had it at the end, but I'll talk about it now, is continuing education, right? Just because we finish a class or we finish a training program or we finish a leg of a training program, does not mean that we're done, right? I mean, growth is the process of life, always learning more. We always are becoming more. I have changed so, so much by being in rooms with others in this profession. I have grown, and it is so important to stay connected and continue your education. You never know it all. You will never be perfect. Me, none of us as animal communicators will ever know it all. We will never be perfect. And it's our commitment to ourselves and the animals in being on this like leading edge of change in the world, right? Of sharing the wisdom that animals have for us, right? Like it is our job, it is our commitment, it is our ethical commitment to continue our own education. So I just want to give you that one too. Continuing education, the personal growth aspect, the spiritual growth aspect, the continuing to show up and be humble, right? And the continuing education that provides you with the experience, the knowledge, and the expertise to be able to share hard things that sometimes need to be said. This segues right into my next topic here under ethical considerations, important ethics, honesty. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But that continuing education is what personal growth, spiritual growth, um, personal development, professional development is what gives us the experience, the expertise, the language, the knowing how to handle sharing really difficult stuff. Because what happens when people say, "Oh, I could never say that," or they don't have the experience to feel confident saying something that is difficult, is they put fluff in there, or they avoid it, or they say it very carelessly. And those three things are damaging. Fluff isn't real, avoidance is not honest, and saying things that are hard, damaging to humans or animals is just simply not okay. That's not what this profession is about. So, the continuing education aspect of the ethics within the work, the body of work of animal communication, interspecies communication is extremely, extremely important. So far, permission, ethical consideration, really, really important. Another ethical consideration is continuing education, right? Like constant, continual growth. And we can do a good amount of that on our own. And because we are humans, because we are here, because we are animals, we are here to be in relationship. We do the other part of that work in community with others, in rooms, in relationships with others, right? Whether those are peer groups or in training programs with teachers or in practice groups with structure and mentoring and moderating. It's just so powerful. Um, and it's important. It's really important. Next aspect of ethics, number three, that's super duper important, is honesty, right? Being honest. And this comes up, right? Like, of course, we want to be honest. We want to share what an animal is feeling, right? We want to let the person who is curious about their animal, who cares about their animal's opinion, who cares about what their animal needs and wants them to know, right? Sometimes difficult topics come up. Sometimes animals bring up details that can be difficult to share. And without experience or without awareness of, like I said, how to say those things, um, and without awareness of whether what you are getting is accurate or not, It can make it confusing about how to be honest, right? Like, for example, if you know that if the person asking, let's say, an animal who is very sick, the person is questioning how their illness and what's coming for them and what's happening, and the person says, "How is she feeling?" And you get from the animal that she's feeling horrible, like really, really badly, like not okay, and potential and like ready to leave her body or in such significant discomfort, right? And the person who has invited you in to talk with her animal, um, what if you're afraid of hurting her? If you're, you can sense and feel like she is going to be shattered when this animal, knowing that this animal is in such pain or that this animal is ready to transition. If you don't have the confidence in A, your skills, that you are accurate, or B, the um, the experience to share the difficult things, um, then you you're not going to know how to handle it, right? And we need to be honest. And I do believe there are ways to share when you are really, really tuned in, when you have are not tuned in with the animal, but you're also tuned in with the person, and you have created this amazing space there for the three of you to have a three-way conversation, then you are really in connection, and the words that come will be just right. And that doesn't come right away. That comes with experience. It comes with knowing what you're doing, right? And it comes with being aware of the importance and significance of honesty. Um, and it can be challenging. It can be challenging. So that's ethical consideration number three is honesty. And really, really cool thing is looking at our own lives and saying, where am I 100% honest? And where might I not be so honest? And I would say for everybody, I'm going to say for everybody on that spectrum, there is some place, even though we like to think that we're really, really honest and true and trustworthy people, while we may be, there are places that we may not be honest. Oftentimes that's with ourselves, right? Honest with what we're really capable of, honest with what we really truly want to be doing or don't want to be doing, honest with what we know about our limitations, honest with things we don't want to face, right? So there's such a broad spectrum there, and this is such a really, really interesting topic, and I bring it up because it matters. It matters. And doing this work to the level that really, I mean, it matters. And doing this work at a professional level means you get clear on this stuff. You get really, really clear on this stuff internally and externally. So that was number four. And the last one is boundaries. And boundaries really ties in with all of these other four. The concept of boundaries in animal communication is so broad, right? First of all, the boundaries of knowing which animal in a family you're tuning in with, right? This is important because families are systems and relationships within families are very close. That when you tune in with one animal in a family and there are other animals in the family, it could be possible, if you don't know, if you haven't developed the skill set and had practice and experience, to know which one you are tuning in with. Right. And so that brings up a question of boundaries right there, or the importance of boundaries, right? If you think that you're tuning in with Joey over here, but really you're getting Diamond over here, that's a boundary issue, right? So that's a like real straight up, simple, necessary to be clear on boundary situation when it comes to animal communication. Another is what I see. And this goes back to permission, right? The permission situation um, affects boundaries. You know, I've had people ask, I can sense, I feel as someone who does Reiki or as someone who does healing work or as someone who's very intuitive, I can sense and feel what's going on for an animal. And when this came up 2 weeks ago, when I tell their person, they don't take it very well. Well, that's because you crossed a boundary. They didn't invite you to talk with their animal, right? You crossed a boundary. You're giving information that they didn't ask for, they didn't even know was available, and you weren't invited into the conversation. That's a boundary issue, right? Just think about it simply. Like two people are sitting over here and they're having a quiet conversation, right? And you walk over and say, "Oh, I know what you need." Like you weren't invited. We have human constructs, we have human social boundaries, social rules. And ultimately, the human is the one who is in charge and has control over what happens for that animal. So um, that's another way where boundaries really come into play, right? And I'm going to give you another one here. There are actually two aspects of this. The first one is with scope of practice and being an animal communicator, we we do certain things. We telepathically communicate with animals. While that may be healing in and of itself, which it oftentimes is, just the discovery of what is there to be understood and what needs to be shared, very often the people start to put pieces together and they can make their own decisions going forward. It doesn't mean they don't ask you for more of what the animal has to share, or they don't come back and talk with me about what else is going on. But ultimately, my work is to empower people to make the right decisions for their animals based on what their animals share with them through me. And um, if I show up as an animal communicator and I start doing healing work in the middle of a session without ever saying that that's what I do, then I've just crossed a boundary, right? That person didn't invite me into that situation to do healing work. They invited me into that situation to do animal communication for a consultation. We have to be very clear about what we're doing in any given moment. If I'm hired to do animal communication or invited to do animal communication and I start giving advice, I am no longer an animal communicator. I am being a consultant, an advisor, right? If I start making, I'm using myself in these examples, right? It's just an example. I'll shift it to we. If animal communicators who are not if animal communicators start offering medical advice or psychological advice or therapeutic advice, pharmaceutical advice, um, and they are not certified in pharmaceuticals or in medicine or in psychology, sociology, as a counselor, as a therapist, then we crossing a boundary, right? This is the external piece of this boundary ethic, right? Like there's the internal one, what am I doing? But also then, whoa, this is going to affect others out there. And there are situations that happen where animal communicators have been taking on a role of something other than what they say they are, what they're certified to do, what they are trained to do, or what they are even practicing. And it creates problems. And ultimately, the problems affect the person because someone else is going to get upset. Someone else, when you cross a boundary, whether it's with an animal or with a human, something happens. There's, that's physics, the law of vibration. There is a repercussion, there is a result, and oftentimes, um, everyone ends up getting hurt. So, boundaries, super, super important. Do what you say you're going to do. Say what you're going to do. Say what you are able to do. Do what you said you were going to do what you are able to do, and don't go beyond that without clarification, right? Um, I share these five things, right? Permission, continuing education, honesty, boundaries. Um, oh, I forgot one. Let me finish that sentence. I share these because I want to help you grow. I want to help this profession grow. I want to support what is in the best interest of animals and people. And I believe that this work is in the best interest of animals and people. I believe that this work is what's going to change the world. It's what's going to create peace everywhere. Animals and nature know how to do this. They know how to live peacefully with each other. We have a lot to learn. They know how to preserve the planet. We have a lot to learn. And it's my belief that this is the best work in the world. And so I just want to support people in doing it well, doing it really, really well, and doing it ethically, um, and doing it in a way that serves everyone at the highest level, right? So, last one, just wanted to mention about self-care. Self-care is an ethic, right? We are not good to anyone if we don't take care of ourselves. And so often people get depleted, people get burnt out, people get just tired because they're not taking care of themselves, or they don't know how to energetically take care of themselves, or they don't know about energetic hygiene and what that means on an emotional level, a mental level, a physical level, and also a spiritual level. The energetic hygiene is real, and spiritual self-care, physical self-care, emotional self-care, mental self-care. We are animals. We are human animals. We have different purpose in many ways than our animal counterparts, both our domesticated animals and wild animals. We are here to create. We are here to speak and share and help each other and teach each other and move things around and build things, right? Like that is how we're wound. And we need to take care of all of those aspects of ourselves while we are spiritual beings living in this body, right? And just so think about it this way, just as much as you would take care of your animal friends, right? And know that their physical needs, their emotional needs, their mental needs, and their spiritual needs are being met, we have to do the same thing for ourselves. And yeah, I want to support you in that because when you don't, you get burnt out, you get run down, you get sick and tired of it. You get sick and tired of people, right? Because you see the stuff and you're tired of it. So, um, one of the things that I love to do is support people around this, right? I love mentoring people in self-care. In what do you need? How do you want this to go for you? What feels right for you? Just because, it's right for someone else, it doesn't mean that it's right for you. It's very individualized. And when you have a practice in animal communication, whether that's beginning, intermediate, advanced, or professional. When you have a practice in animal communication, self-care is super, super important. And all of these five things fall under a very broad umbrella of ethics within animal communication. And so this is what I wanted to bring you today. I love teaching on this topic. I have a three-part course on this topic that is built into my training program. If this speaks to you, if there are pieces of this conversation that just kind of touch you in some way, let me know. Let me know. Let's talk about it. Let's create a conversation because it's really, really important. It preserves um, the power of this work. It preserves the clarity of this work. It preserves the integrity of this work and those of us doing it. So I love these conversations. And I want to say this too. Sometimes people make mistakes, right? Like you can bring those to a conversation. I am not judging. I would not judge. I really do believe that 99.9% of the time, all the time, I think people make mistakes in this field innocently, because of just not knowing. And that's a-okay. That's how we learn. We bump into the guardrails and then say, "Oh, that wasn't right," you know? Um, but I'm happy to support you in understanding more. And if you want to talk about stuff that's come up for you around ethics and animal communication, comment on this, reach out to me. You know how to reach me, message me, whatever. But I hope that this was helpful. And yeah, if you think that it would help others, um, who you may know who are practicing animal communication and are stepping into this world or who have been here a while, invite them into the group. They can get this video, they can learn what we do here. So that's what I have for you. All my love to you and your animals.